Kim says good morning. We normally just wait for a couple more minutes for people to kind of pop on here. So before we get started, Jim is going to try to make it to this call. If he can't make it today, he apologizes, but he said he should be able to listen to most of this or read it or be able to be on. Pam, one of our last speaker on this, she did an amazing job last month. If you guys didn't get to hear that, that was like a $500 course she gave you guys as a free call last month. That was amazing. She did a really good job with that. So I appreciate her for putting that together. That was really, really good. Like I said, I think he's landing right now or just landed. He's gonna try to be with us a little bit today. But I'm kind of filling in this morning for him. I'm going to share my screen and just kind of get started here. We have a good call today. I'm excited about the call today. Got to spend a couple weeks, or not a couple days with Eric in a cabin. How was that on your end, Eric? Was that a good weekend? I thought it was a really good weekend for me. I needed that actually.
Yeah, so in order to get to that cabin, we made a donation for Share the Love and had no idea how valuable that was going to be, and completely shifted a lot for me and my wife and our business, and just loved getting to know you a little better and Anthony a little better. I've known Jeff for a long time, and just getting to know y'all a lot better. So it was really nice. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. We even had a lawyer in the room, so I got to ask some legal questions.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really cool. Had a great meeting. If you guys get a chance to do some of these small, I really do think that like the bigger they get, the harder they get to be really intimate and to really kind of get in. But you can get to some small mastermind groups, 5, 10, 15 people maybe at the most. Those can be super powerful. I just got to be with Eric and it was great. So welcome to everybody. Welcome to this call. Eric Vogel is going to be our special speaker today. I'm excited about hearing what he has to say. I don't know if you remember this, Eric, or not, but my brother, who I was telling you about a little bit about, that I thought would be really help, for what you have to say would be really helped by it. I actually got him on this call today, so I'm happy to have him on here today. So I think it'd be really good for him. But Eric's going to talk today, and I'm excited. And it's not going to be all about real estate. A lot of these calls are about real estate. This is going to be more about life. And I think we need to hear this, and especially in the economic times that we're in today. So last month, like I said, if you guys didn't get to see Pam Fisher, I promise you, go back and watch the calls. They're on the website. And I promise you, if you want to get into mobile homes, manufactured homes, like there's not a better free hour that you're going to get than Pam gave us last month. She really went into detail on how to make, $50,000-$100,000 on some of these houses, and she did an amazing job.
Thanks.
Some events coming up I want to make sure you guys are aware of. Well, first of all, I don't have a slide for this because things kind of got all jumbled, and last minute, I have people out of town on my team, but the lending conference for private lenders or private borrowers that was supposed to happen in Orlando a couple weeks ago got canceled. So it's bad news and good news. It's bad news because it got canceled. It's good news because if you didn't get in, they did open up some more seats, and you guys can still log on and go on and be able to go to that. So I think Freya is going to post a link to that, guys, here. So if you're interested and you have not booked that, I think it's in January. If somebody knows, if they want to put that in the chat when those dates are, I believe it's the first week in January, which is a great time to go to Orlando, guys. So if you guys want to go to that, also Investor Addicts Cruise is coming up. I don't even think these prices are right anymore, and I don't think there's very many rooms available left. So if you do want to get in on this, you're going to have to book this soon. A lot of people in our community are going to this. This is probably the biggest cruise that we've done in the last 5 years, honestly. Like we used to do some cruises where there was 200, 300 people on the cruises. This one's going to be one of those, and we haven't had one for about 5 years. So probably 2018, 2019, I can remember in our community. Jim's going to be at this event. A lot of smart people are going to be there. You guys are going to want to be there. So make that happen. And then also, if you haven't signed up for Dealmaker 2025, March 18th through 21, I'm super excited about this. I know Jim is as well. It's going to be his biggest event he's ever done. And we're excited about this event too. I think Freya is also going to post a link for this as well in the chat. You guys can do that. And then don't forget about Dealmaker Gary 2025, September 4th through 6th. You guys can go to the website and order those or the videos as well. And then next month, we've got Forrest McGee, got to be a part of his local meetup group. Actually, when we were at that mastermind, we were just kind of talking about that mastermind with Eric and Sam and Jeff. We were all kind of together with Anthony. We got to be on a panel at Forrest's little group he's got there, and it was really cool. Forrest has got a cool story. He's going to talk about fix and flips, and kind of some unique ways that he makes money doing what he does there. But Forrest is just a really cool guy. You guys will really enjoy him. We're doing it a little bit different week, so just make sure you notate the date, November 19th. 11 a.m. Eastern time, 10 Central there, guys. We just moved it up a week for November and December because of the holidays. So without further ado, I'll just give the mic over to Eric, and I will let you guys go. Thank you guys for being here.
Outstanding. Tom, thank you for everything that you do to help organize and facilitate meetings like this. I probably don't speak for most, but I hope I speak for some that without calls like these, it can be hard to stay on track sometimes. These calls are great to keep us in the loop. These calls are great to challenge us and get us thinking. Sometimes we just tend to just listen to podcasts or read some books, but it's great to just be around real people, sharing real things that happen in real life. So podcasts can be really great about sharing really, fictional, sometimes seems fictional stories about success. But in here, we're talking about real life stuff that are practical, and you find the people sharing that we can all actually connect and interact with. So your network is truly your net worth, and it starts in places like this. So Tom, thank you from all of us. I hope it's from all of us. So thank you for that. And also about our presentation today, he's right. I'm not just talking about real estate. I am passionate about helping people transform their lives. I am passionate about helping people to see the real them on the inside. So while we will have a little bit of real estate discussion in my presentation today, it's going to hopefully challenge you to think a little more inwardly about your investing. So I'm going to get into the share screen. I'm awful with tech. Is that showing up for everyone?
Yes.
All right. So I am the co-host of Dealmaker Atlanta, along with my co-host Joshua Boyd. He is a great gentleman. He actually was my mentor years ago when I was a teacher. He taught me how to be a teacher, and then 10 years later, I taught him how to be a real estate investor. So it was really great for us to share and switch seats on the mentor-mentee. And you're never too young or too old to be a mentor or a mentee. So that's like your first little thing to go ahead and cross over, is that you're never too young to be a mentor. There are a lot of young coaches out there that are doing really great things. There's a lot of, older folks out there that are learning that they are the mentee. So it's not a one size fits all. So who am I? Like I said, my name is Eric Vogel, and I'm super thankful to be here to share with you today my story, my journey, and a little bit of things that I've learned along the way. In this picture, I used to be a high school band director. That was me in my tails tuxedo conducting band. Band was an opportunity for me growing up to escape the life I had at home. And it was one of those stories of, if not for band, where would I be? I'd be probably like the other people from my small town. I grew up in a single wide trailer down a dirt road in the middle of nowhere, and everyone is pretty much for the most part still there. And lucky for me, band got me out. Band was that one saving grace of mine of, I have a talent, I have a skill. Sure, let it take me through college, let it establish my career. And then years later, I bought a house because, I was a first-time home buyer, loved this new job I was in. I wanted to be there. I wanted to be in the community. I wanted to just be all about it. And real estate was nowhere in mind for my thinking, investing, that is. And I bought this house on a VA loan, $0 down. It was great, 2.5% note. I loved it. And then my father got home from Afghanistan, and he was a DOD contractor out there, and he had a little bit of shell shock. And I said, you know what? I need to live with my dad. And I met my wife, then girlfriend, Tiffany, and our second date was her moving me out of this house and into my dad's house. So very interesting second date there. And in that course, I had to figure out quickly how to become a landlord because I had a $0 down VA loan that I couldn't sell because I didn't have money to bring to close it. I'd only owned it for about a year and a half. And my real estate agent at the time said, you've got to rent it out for at least a year and then you'll sell it. You'll get some equity. I was like, okay, I guess I'll rent it out. So I had a buddy of mine draft up a lease. He was a lawyer, but it was not a great lease. And I said, you know what? I'm a landlord now. I posted on Facebook, took the first person that brought me the deposit and put them in there. I was a great landlord. It was amazing until my wife said, hey, how's that house going? How are you at being a landlord? I said, well, it's going great. I never hear from the guy, and he pays rent to an envelope in the garage. I was like, she said, wait a second, you're not actually like collecting that rent? I was like, no, I'll go by there once every couple of months. I'll pick it up and whatnot. She said, Eric, you're awful at this. You need to figure this out. It's like, okay, what do we do? So she Google searched a few things like how to be a good landlord, and Bigger Pockets came up, and she's like, oh, well, let's go dive into Bigger Pockets and figure this out. And it wasn't a month or two later that we had a discussion of, Eric, you spend so much time at work for $50,000 a year. You're working 80 to 90 hours a week for $50,000 a year. Let's do a little mathing and figure out how much are you making per hour. And in the fall, when it's football season and you're doing marching band and you're doing all those activities, I was making as little as $5 an hour. And, in the summer months when you're not working, I was making a great hourly rate. But on average, I was making on average about $9 to $10 an hour. She said, Eric, you can do so much more impact by us buying houses and renting them out. You can still teach in different ways, but I think this is where we need to go. And it took me a lot of convincing and just inner talk of figuring out, like, how do I give up my identity of who I used to be? I used to be this high school band director. I used to love to create music with these students. I used to love doing that. But how do I become this new person? Well, that's where the journey began of how do I shift my identity? Fast forward to today, my wife and I have two beautiful sons, and we are living that dream life that we forecasted back in 2017. And it has been a whirlwind. It has not been easy, but it has been worth it. And that's what I hope to instill in you today, that although it may not be easy, it will be worth it. So, how to reach financial freedom. It's not a glass ball. It's not a one size fits all, but I love to approach all of my students and teach them in this manner. Your financial freedom is truly an island out there in the middle of the ocean called Dream Island. And this Dream Island is out there for you and it's waiting for you, and you long to see it. Sometimes you look with your binoculars and you can see it off in the distance, but you want to get there, but you don't know how. And the only practical approach to getting to Dream Island is to build a bridge. And so we all sit down at the very beginning of what we're doing, and we try to build this bridge. We try to get to Dream Island, and we start laying bricks for the foundation. We start laying down piers. We start building this island. Then all of a sudden, something new comes up. There's this, flashy, shiny object over there of, ooh, subject to, learn how to do it like this, or Airbnbs or pad split. There's all these new things that come out every now and then. And all of a sudden your focus is taken off of building your bridge. And what I want to encourage you is that build your bridge to Dream Island first, and then start looking at those other things. When we first got started, I had no intention of doing Airbnbs. I had no interest in doing Airbnbs. I was focused on what we were doing. And what were we doing is we were doing the BRRRR strategy. We were flipping to rent, and we were buying deals on Zillow. We were buying deals on the MLS that no one wanted to buy because they were so crummy. And we would fix them up, we'd renovate them, we'd rent them out, we'd refinance them, and repeat the process with a little gains from our refinance. And we just kept doing what we knew. And that's what I encourage you to do, is stick to what you are learning and do it to the best of your ability. Become the master, the absolute master of your craft. And then the next step is begin educating so much so that is all you do. Educate so much. When Tiffany and I got started, we took the TV out of our house. We unsubscribed from every single thing that brought us any type of leisure or like luxury. We got rid of it. All we did was we listened to podcasts on the way to and from work. We listened to podcasts when we cooked dinner. After dinner, we'd watch webinars on Bigger Pockets. Every Thursday, we would attend the local meetup. Every one Thursday a month, we'd attend the meetup religiously. We would never miss. We would educate and educate and educate. The next step is we would start being in the room where it happens, because you can be building your bridge by yourself. You can educate and do a really good job of building your bridge, but I promise you there's going to come a time in your bridge building process that you are unable to solve a problem. And when you reach that moment, who are you going to call? Who are you going to lean on? Who are you going to reach out to help you navigate a really difficult situation? Well, it starts in rooms like Dealmaker, starts in rooms like your local meetup, your local Dealmaker, your local RIA meetups. It starts there. Now, it's not that you just go there and now you call whoever's in the room. It starts with networking. It starts with building relationships. Who you are and how you present yourself and how you do your business. That is where it starts, because you start to build a rapport with everyone in the room. You are your best lead magnet. Honestly, you are, because when you call someone for help, are you worthy of telling help to? Are you someone that is coachable? Are you someone that is going to even receive advice? Are you that kind of person? Or are you the know-it-all? Are you the one that's doing it better than everyone else because you had one lucky deal? Be humble. Be humble about your success. Don't be secretive about it. Share in your success, but go out and make yourself vulnerable to the community, because honestly, everyone in this room right now and everyone at those rooms, they have something on the inside of them that wants to share and help. All of us do. It's not one of those like, oh, if you're in my market, I can't help you because you'll take all of my stuff. And if you're in that kind of room, you're in the wrong room. You need to get into a different room where we are all sharing for everyone's success. Because at the end of the day, real estate investing is not about becoming a millionaire, a billionaire, and all this. It comes down to, we're here to solve problems. We're here to solve problems for the sellers. We're here to solve problems for each other. We're here to solve, even bigger problems than we probably realize sometimes. We're solving the problem of that single mother that just went through a bad divorce and helping her get into somewhere that's safe and stable and secure. You're solving problems in way different aspects than you probably imagine. Then the last step to financial freedom is setting a course, setting a pin on the roadmap of where are you going, and figuring out where you're going is a really intricate process, because it comes down to a lot of things. And later in the presentation, I'll give you some tips on how to find that. But I did a really unique little study about 5 years ago on shooting an azimuth. Does anybody in the room know what an azimuth is? It's a navigation thing. So when I was in the military, I did a lot of land navigation trainings and events. And shooting an azimuth is you're standing in the woods, you hold your compass, and you find a place out in the distance. You look at your compass, it says 260, that's 260 degrees. You find that location out in the distance, you point it, and then you take 10 to 15 paces, and you go back to your compass, you shoot it again, and you make sure you're staying on that 260 all the way there. Every 10 to 15 paces, you're looking back at your compass, making sure you're still heading toward the right spot. And when I did this exercise, I said, well, what if you started in San Francisco and you wanted to go to DC? Well, if you started in San Francisco and you want to go to DC, let's say that's about 185 or so, right? But what if you were at 186 for half the time, or you were at 184 for half the time? Where would you end up? Well, in most cases, you would end up about 300 miles north or south with just 1 degree off. And that is unfortunately where a lot of folks land in their life. There's a very common stat out there that's read that more people spend the most time planning a birthday party or a graduation party or a vacation than they ever do planning their life. Think back to the last vacation you took. Did you plan on what goes in your luggage? Do you pack sunscreen? Do you pack hiking boots or cold weather gear? And what's your itinerary when you get there? You want to maximize your time when you're on this vacation because you don't want it to go to waste. What are people doing for their lives? And I challenge you, if that's not you, to give that some thought. Go to where you're starting, get out your compass and shoot your azimuth, and check in on it accordingly. And do the due diligence of really planning your itinerary for your life. I promise it's more important than a trip to Florida. So practical application of all this stuff in mine and Tiffany's lives. I told you that we stuck to that BRRRR process, and we did. We did single family rentals and some flips that came our way. Now I know flips and single family rentals are a little different, but it was during a were trying to offload houses in 2018, 19, and 20. And people were coming to Tiffany and I trying to get us to solve their problems. And I was a problem solver. I couldn't say no. And so, yes, we did flip a few. And then when we mastered the single family rentals and we reached Dream Island and we generated that income to support us before our first son was born, then we started going in a different direction. Then we said, okay, now we can look at some of these shiny objects. And that's when we started looking at rent by the room. And then we bought 4 or 5 of those and felt like we were really good at that. And then got a little bored. And, at that mastermind, Tom and the other folks helped me realize that that is too much of a time suck. And, we're slowly figuring out a way out of that. But now we're shifting into Airbnb and finding different properties to use in different ways. Another application is we weren't perfect. I say stay on course, stay on course, stay on course, but you're going to mess up. You're going to have things that come in the way. And honestly, what came in the way for us was belief. We had limiting beliefs that we could be successful with different types of deals. We were just really good at Zillow and finding listings that were marketed in such a way that we could go below asking and renovate and add value. But we were scared to, go out and knock on doors. We were scared to go out and, do mailers or bandit signs. And so when the market stopped working the way we wanted it to, I started a handyman company. And I was really strategic about how I started this. It was a handyman company that focused solely for real estate agents on their ATAX. So when an agent got an amendment to address concerns, they would call me and my company would take care of the ATAX. But the problem is COVID happened and I was in the National Guard. I was deployed for the Corona scare, and I was unable to run the business. And my wife, she was working her job. And so ultimately we sold the business. And that was something that really set us back because it was about 18 months of we weren't thinking about our one thing. We weren't thinking about real estate. We were trying to run a business, and it was the wrong time for it. And then other, real applications of sticking to those 4 items is, podcasts and books and local meetups. Like I said, we never missed a single meetup. And I want to encourage you that if you're an introvert or if you're someone that is really busy, there's an old saying of you make time for the things that you want to make time for. And if you want a different life, if you want Dream Island and you really want to get there, you will make time to get to these meetups. And so, and Tiffany and I, we did that. Thursday nights, we had band practice that ended at 6, and the meetup was an hour away. And the meetup started at 6, and my band practice ended at 6. So my wife would go over there about 5 o'clock, and she is a crazy introvert, hates being around large groups of people, but she went there anyways. She went there anyways and sat in the room and took notes and listened. And I got there about 7 o'clock, and I was there for some of the meeting and all of the networking at the end. And that's how we really found our way through this, was just being in that room. There's nothing more powerful than the process of immersion. If you really want to learn to speak a different language, the best way to do it is to just go live in a country that's all they speak. And that happens the same for real estate as well. You will learn the language. You will find success so long as you are immersed in that community. And then we started attending conferences and joining masterminds. Now, attending conferences is wonderful because you get to be in that room where it happens. But the mastermind is like a conference times 10, because you get into a smaller group of people where you are available to be vulnerable. And it's a place where you can truly share your struggles. But more importantly, for me, it was a place where I could share success. And I have found so much difficulty in sharing success with where I came from, because where I came from was a dirt road and a single wide. Where I am today is not that. And I find it hard sometimes to share success. When I'm talking 6-figure checks, I can't say that to my mom and dad. It's one of those, wow, son, good for you. It must be nice. I'm sure we've all heard that one. But in these masterminds, you can go share that stuff, and they celebrate your accomplishment. And you're so vulnerable and open in these groups that they know you. They know the struggles. They know how hard it was. They don't just see the glamorous check or the glamorous building that you bought or business that you're running. They see the hard things that it took to get there, and they truly celebrate your success. So in essence, the mastermind, I feel, is one of the best places to really catapult your business, because you get to really share openly about who you are and your struggles, and you finally have a place to really truly celebrate your success with guidance. It's not just a great job, it's a great job, what's next? And that's what you really need, is a great job, what's next? How do you get to make that 6-figure a 7-figure check? It's one of those challenges that really moves you forward. So the right mindset. Want to talk about how do you develop or have or cultivate the right mindset? And hopefully most of us have heard the phrase be, do, have. You know, if you want to become something that's new, you have to be that person and start doing those things so that you can have the things that they have. Now, a little exercise for you. For all of the non-smokers in the room, how many of you are going to drive to the gas station in the morning and pick up a pack of cigarettes? Not a single one of you, right? Because you're not a smoker. You don't identify as a smoker. So in the sense of be, do, have, if you are trying to become a smoker, you're going to be a smoker. You're going to drive to the gas station and pick up that pack of smokes, right? And you're going to do the smoking, and you will have the things that smokers have. I don't idolize any of that, but that is the approach of it. You know, if you want to be a successful real estate investor, you have to start identifying as such. You have to be doing the things so that you can have that life. You know, an exercise I love to do is it's a visualization exercise. So if you're driving, don't close your eyes right now. But, you know, if you'll just entertain me for like 60 seconds and just, you know, close your eyes for a second and say, you know, it's Tuesday right now, but in 5 years is going to be another Tuesday. What does Tuesday look for you in 5 years? 5 years ago, you were existing, and 5 years ago, you were doing things. 5 years ago, you were writing a check you didn't know you were writing. But today, you're cashing it. Today, you're cashing that check you wrote 5 years ago. What check are you writing today that you are going to cash in 60 months? 60 periods. What do you want that Tuesday to look like? Is it waking up at the same time you're waking up now? Are you drinking the same kind of coffee or the same type of tea that you are now? Are you eating differently? Do you have a routine developed? Are you exercising more? Are you reading your Bible more? Are you helping more people? Are you volunteering at different, charitable events? What does that Tuesday look like in 5 years? Because I promise you that 5 years is going to come for you, God willing. What check are you writing today that you will cash in 5 years? And another thing, who are your 5 closest friends? We all know the quote, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And this is one of those, it was the hardest thing for me because I was in the military and I had a great group of friends in the military. And I loved being around them and sharing with them. But I had to evaluate that and say the 5 people I'm spending the most time with are like dedicated to things that I don't want to be dedicated to. They're celebrating things I don't want to celebrate. They're idolizing things I don't want to idolize. They're married to the system. They're married to the rat race. And I was trying desperately to divorce the rat race. And so I had to really reevaluate. That doesn't mean I'm not friends with them anymore, but I don't spend my most time with them anymore. I still love them. I still care for them. I still reach out, but they are not who I persistently reach out for and seek after. And lastly, a part of the right mindset is having the identity. When someone comes up to you and asks you, hey, what do you do for a living? How do you answer that? Because that's going to quickly tell me, who are you going to become? Now, when I was still a band director and people would ask me, hey, at the real estate meetups, what do you do for a living? I would quickly answer, I'm a high school band director. And then one day a gentleman said, you're not a band director. I was like, well, wait a second. I literally just got here from band practice. I am absolutely a band director. He said, well, it looks to me like you're a real estate investor. I said, oh, yes, I am trying to be a real estate investor. He said, no, that is the wrong approach. And here's why. If you keep telling people you're a high school band director, you will always be a high school band director. But if you start telling people that you are a real estate investor, every morning when you wake up, when you see yourself in the mirror, you don't see a high school band director. You see a real estate investor. You see someone that is going out solving problems, doing deals, and being a true deal maker and changing the trajectory of your family's life. And that's when I was like, wait a second, I've been doing this all wrong. I was attending the meetups, I was doing the studying, I was even doing deals, but I wasn't fully immersed in being a real estate investor. I wasn't immersed in being that person. So this is that diagram I was telling you would come. It's the power of purpose. My wife and I assembled this many years ago of how should you structure getting into the right mindset and having an identity shift and seeking financial freedom. Well, it really all starts, and we all know this, it starts with why. Why do you really want it? And there are so many methods and ways to discover your why. And the method that I use, it takes about an hour and a half, 2 hours to really get down to the why. But in a quick version, it's, is anybody willing to participate in a why exercise with me? If you'd raise your hand, I'd love to bring you in. Tom? Yeah. Kim? Is that Evgenia? Listen, I know Tom. I know Kim. Can we do Evgenia? All right. Evgenia, if you will unmute.
I would like to. Yes, I would be very happy.
Wonderful. If you would quickly share with me, like, what do you do for a living, and how is your investing journey going right now?
Well, I live in New York and I invest in Northwest Indiana. And at first, I actually came to this market through Tom Olson because I purchased a few houses from them. And then I recently started doing my own adventure. And right now I own about 10 properties in this area.
Outstanding.
And I'm developing myself as a real estate investor, as you say.
Wonderful. And how long have you been at this?
Well, actively about a year, actively. But I was passively for a longer period of time, yes.
That's incredible. Congratulations to your success.
Thank you.
I think we can all join in celebrating that. You're making moves. You're a mover and a shaker, and I love that about you. So why did you decide to get into real estate investing? What was like the culprit?
For me, it's first of all, I actually enjoy when I make the houses better. When I purchase a house that looks ugly and then I renovate it, I like the process of renovating, and I like how it's turned out to be a better house. And I do like that I actually help other people as well. So I employ contractors, I provide housing for people. And this process, to me, it's kind of helping many people in an active way. Not just giving them money in the charge, but really like providing them with jobs and with services. So this is what I like about it. So I think this is my main why. And of course, financial freedom is a very important part of that. Very important.
So what I just heard, and you can stop me if I'm wrong, you love the process of making old things new. Is that right?
I do love the process. I love real estate, yes.
Yeah. So why do you like the process of making old things new? Why do you like, employing contractors? Why do you like to do these things?
It makes me feel fulfilled that I'm actively kind of helping more people than myself. I'm creating something bigger than myself. So I'm the only one person. The God gave me life and gave me some resources, but by doing more things, I kind of transfer this to a bigger community.
Right. So why is that important to you?
As I said, I think it helps me financially. It helps me from my personal standpoint. It helps me feel better as a human being.
So now we're getting to it. So I love that we're starting to uncover some levels, and I believe there are probably 2 more levels below that. And it could be, and I'm just forecasting. It could be something to do with how you were raised. It could be something to do with what you want for your family. And like I said, this exercise can absolutely go on for ages. But we see how we're kind of breaking down the why. Am I saying your name right, Evgenia?
Correct. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. So we see how Evgenia's why at the top end was, renovating houses, employing contractors, and all of that. But then below that why is a different why. And then below that why is another different why. And honestly, the root of the why is truly the why. And Evgenia, I challenge you to keep digging deeper into that and uncovering and exposing your origin story, your truth of what gave you that why. Was it a life event? Was it something someone told you? Or is it just a belief of the world? Is it a world belief or a you belief that you have? So thank you, Evgenia, for participating in that why
Thank you very much.
exercise.
I appreciate that. Thank you. It's a
Yes,
great
ma'am.
exercise.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So that is the base of your pyramid of the power of purpose. And the power of purpose is that we are aligning everything we do to get to financial freedom with purpose. Why doesn't matter? What impact are you making on yourself or your family or your community? Why does it matter? And then the next step after why is defining your dreams. And all of us, I know early on, I was really bad at dreaming big, because I was like, oh, dreaming big. I'm going to dream big right here. I drive a 2004, let's say Ford Taurus. In 5 years, I'm going to be driving a 2016 Ford Excursion. I was like, that's my dream big. It's like, that is just not big enough. You got to have a dream so big that it absolutely scares your pants off. And what I mean by that is, currently at that point in time, I'm driving this old Ford, but dreaming big is that I have 3 cars to choose from. And these 3 cars are, one's exotic, one's an outdoor, recreational vehicle, and one's a cyber truck if they ever make it right back then. Like that is dreaming big. But doing that with your business as well and saying, maybe you have 2 rentals right now or 10 rentals right now, or you have 2 streams of income right now. What is dreaming big for that? And I challenge folks to say, go from 2 to 20 or go to 10 to 50, or realigning what are you getting out of 10? How do you shift that to be just 20? And dreaming big on 20 is big because you've shifted from 10 single family homes to 20 multifamily homes. Dreaming big in the sense that you don't know how you're going to do it. And it kind of scares you, but doesn't that sound nice? The next one is implementing goals that will help you get to that big dream. And now setting these goals need to be benchmarked goals of first quarter of the first year. Here's what I need to achieve to get to this next step. Second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter of year 1. Here's how I am aligning to get to this big dream at the end of 3 years or 5 years. The next thing you have to do is start taking massive action. And Adrian Smoot, a good friend of mine, he loves to say, and I'm sure he heard it somewhere, is he loves to take massive imperfect action. And I love that imperfect line in there, because a lot of us really get caught up on the details. We get caught up on the details. Either we're listing a house for sale and, oh my gosh, there's a paint chip on the inside of this closet. Got to get it. Or there's other little minute details that we get really focused on. And I like to implement the phrase Gitmo, good enough to move on. And I'm not saying do sloppy work, but realize that your perfectionism is going to get in the way of your success. It's going to ultimately be the roadblock to Dream Island. And then after you take massive action over and repeated, you ultimately achieve financial freedom. Now you see on the right side, we have lag versus lead, the wheel of life, the top 10. Now these are 3 strategies to help you stay in this pyramid. Now lag versus lead, this is a measuring tool to help you identify what do you need to focus on to reach that next benchmark, that next quarter's goals. You know, are you focusing on the wrong one? Are you focusing on the lag too much? Are you focusing on the lead too much? You know, and if you don't know what these are, I highly encourage you to go YouTube it and just get an understanding of what all of that is. And then the Wheel of Life. Has anyone in here heard about the Wheel of Life, or you know what the Wheel of Life is, or anything like that? So the Wheel of Life, encourage you to Google it. We actually have a Wheel of Life downloadable one on our website. I'll put that in the chat at the end. The Wheel of Life is a tool for you to evaluate where are you in your life at this moment. It is a circle that has 6 or 8 different slices in there, like a pie. It looks like a pie or a pizza. And they're different elements of your life. You have your fitness, you have your faith, you have your finances, you have all these aspects in this circle. And the exercise should be a weekly or monthly or quarterly evaluation. And you're going to shade in up to 100% or all the way down to 0%. How well do you think you're performing in this category? And it's just one of those quick snapshots that helps you to understand, oh my gosh, I need to focus more on my faith because I'm 90% in everything else, but I'm 20% here. And it helps you to just stay on course. Like that azimuth, you're looking back down at your compass and you're saying, oh, I'm supposed to be at 165. I'm at 167. I need to adjust and stay on track. And then the top 10 is an exercise that I love to encourage people to do with themselves. And if they're married or have a business partner, do it with your partner, do it with your spouse, of listing out the top 10 things that bring you the most joy in your life. Now, this is going to change over the course of year to year, quarter to quarter, but the top 10 things that bring you the most joy in your life. These top 10 things are usually used as a tool to help you discover your why, but it also helps you to facilitate your big dreams. And it also helps you to facilitate, what does your daily life look like? Are you capturing the top 10 things that you said brought you the most joy? Or is that anywhere in your plan? Is that anywhere in your roadmap? You know, we need to revisit and make sure those get in your roadmap, or did they change? You know, this is all just a course correction of your life, or just a magnifying glass looking into your day-to-day of making sure the things that you say you care about are actually the things that you're doing. So it's one of those, like, looking into your life.
Good.
So like I said before, investing in real estate is not always easy. This screen envelops just two properties that we bought that I'm going to tell you a story about. So on the left side is one property where the whole house, inside and out, I mean ceilings, walls, inside and out, was all plywood, all OSB. The inside walls were OSB, the ceiling was OSB, the floors were OSB, the outside was OSB, everything was OSB. It was great. It was a wonderful experience because it was one of the first few properties we bought. And at that time, I was doing a lot of the renovations. So we had to figure out, you know, how do we navigate a house that's all OSB, and every spill, every single stain is like part of the house. It's like in it. There's no resistance there. And then, you know, fixing a sewer main blockage after a marching band performance at a football game on a Friday night. It's 11:30 at night and trying to come home, but I can't go home because there's a sewer backup. There's trees hanging over the house and one of them falls. And how do you navigate that? And one tenant didn't tell me he had cats, but all of a sudden he moves out and it just, you pull up in the driveway and you smell cats. How do you get rid of all that? And then mold. How do you navigate with a tenant to tell them that mold doesn't just grow? You have to give it an environment to grow. It's probably because it's 110 degrees outside. You have the AC set on 60 on the inside and it's wet. Everything is wet on the inside. That's where the mold came from. And so navigating things like that. On the right side is a different house. We bought the house, celebrated with margaritas, went over to check it out afterwards, and I touched a pipe in the wall and it sprayed and exploded and flooded, like within hours of owning the property. It was great. And then the COVID happened, and navigating COVID, we made $4 in the year 2020 on that property. You know, how do you navigate that? And then someone flicks a cigarette butt off the front porch and burns down the front porch and almost burns down the house. You're renting it out by the room, and one of the members in the house invites their entire family to live in the living room on air mattresses. And then we have a roof leak that won't go away. And then Judge Judy is there for a reason, because all 5 evictions that I've ever had in my career came from this one house within a 3-month span. So how do you navigate that? Those were the hard times. And those were things that really helped Tiffany and I to weather the storm so that we could trade houses for hotels one day, because you will experience bigger, different problems as you grow. So those 2 houses, we exchanged those into the 2 houses on the left, those really raggedy, rough looking cabins in North Georgia mountains. And then after 11 months of renovations and the most elaborate delays, we ended up on the right side at these 2 beautiful cabins on the right. We weathered things like permits being reversed. We ran into state fire marshal interventions, sprinkler systems, fire encapsulations, ran into some type of different types of zoning ordinances. Had we not experienced all of this, there's a slim chance we would have been able to deal with all of this. So although your investing journey, wherever you are right now, whatever you're dealing with right now, however big it is, just know that God is not trying to cause you to fail. God's trying to train you to be successful at the next step. You know, I love sharing this, and that is, things never, and I mean never, happen to you. Things happen for you. And you get to decide why that thing happened. And how are you going to allow it to affect your life? So things are not happening to you. Retell yourself that story of whatever happened to you and say, why did it happen for me? And the end results of going through all of that craziness of dealing with those 2 weird homes and then going into the cabins that we had. And I'm not sharing this as a bragging thing. I'm sharing this as a sense of, if a guy that grew up in a single wide trailer in a town called Whitesburg on a dirt road can find success, I promise you, you can too. I grew up with negative education, and I promise you, you can make it. But out of this deal, we pulled $90,000 out at closing, and that's after paying everything off. So it was actually a true burr in this market. And a lot of people are saying, you can't burr in this market. You have to be extremely creative. And that house now generates $6,000 a month in cash flow and has an infinite cash on cash return. And like I said, I'm not sharing it to be boastful or braggadocious. I'm sharing it to say I'm a real person that experienced some real hard things with my wife. We went through some really difficult things, but by bearing it and weathering the storm, we found different successes. Now, what is that $90,000 going to go to? Well, after that mastermind with Tom and Jeff and them, we're looking at buying some businesses, baby. So we're into the pipeline of trying to buy some businesses and just now shift the strategy even further. So as a recap of my timeline, in 2017, we kind of got started. The journey began. In 2019 was the absolute struggle of figuring out, you know, how to be a landlord, what kind of education do we need, how to buy rentals, how to rehab them, and then sacrificing everything about our life. 2021, the dream life was reached. Our first son was born at the end of 2020, but 2021 is when we started living that dream life. We had financial independence, but it wasn't that fat FIRE number. If you're familiar with FIRE, financial independence, retire early. We have that slim FIRE is where we were at, and then fat FIRE is like, you know, there's excess. You don't have to worry about much. And then in 2022, new growth, or we had a second son. We started implementing new strategies and started doing micro lending. And then in 2024, this is the year that we started trading houses for hotels. Now, you can't trade a house for a hotel if you don't have a house. So I encourage you to start taking massive action and getting that dream life into your mind and figuring out which direction are you shooting your azimuth. Because I promise, if you plan to be there, you'll be there. But like the great Yogi Berra says, if you don't know where you're going, you'll end up someplace else. And a couple of things to keep in mind along your journey. You've got to get out of your own way. You are always going to be your own worst critic, especially when we look in the mirror. Oh, I'm flabby here. Oh, I don't like these stretch marks. I don't like the way my face looks. You know, we are our own worst critic. Don't let that criticism come into your business. You have to get out of your own way, trust the process, and stay persistent. And it's about taking action. Like I said, taking massive imperfect action, even if it's just one action. It's baby steps. A lot of, I heard this presentation many years ago of, if you want to plan to run a triathlon, what do you think the first step is into learning how to run a triathlon? And a lot of people say it's just go outside and start walking down the street and build up and, you know, trying to figure out how to run and developing your breathing and all that. but really it backs up. It's not even going outside for a run, and it's not even putting on your running shoes or getting into your running outfit. It backs up all the way to the day before of setting your bedtime an hour earlier so that you can wake up earlier the next day. So step one is actually just going to bed early. And it's like, how does going to bed early help me run a triathlon? Well, it's habit stacking. And if you can habit stack into the direction of your dreams, you will achieve those dreams. And then perfection is your enemy, like I said. Gitmo, good enough to move on. Don't use that as a way to be a slumlord, but use it as a way to not let perfection kill you. Develop an intentional roadmap. And that's what I'm all about, being very hyper intentional about which direction you are heading in your life. And that is my presentation. Thank you so much for letting me share today, Tom. If there are any questions or follow-ups, I'd love to hear them.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much. If you guys have any questions, you guys can put them in the chat, but I'd also love for you guys to throw in the chat. What are your big dreams? What are those things that you guys, want to do? What makes you get up in the morning? For me, it is flipping the city of Gary, Indiana. It's way bigger than something I know I can do by myself. To me, I can't do this in a 6-month plan. I can't do this in an 11-month time frame. This is a decades over decades thing. But I definitely want to give a big shout out to Eric for putting this on. He also does have some follow-ups. If you guys want to follow up with him, if you guys want to go through the Dream Life University, you guys can do that as well. And he also has a podcast that he put up there as well. A couple things I kind of wrote down as you were going through your presentation. Build your bridge to your dream island first. I think that is very important for most people. Most people don't have the they don't have the grit to stick into something for 10, 20 years before they can see. And it's not a bad thing. I mean, it's just who people are. I always say sometimes for some of my companies, if you look at Google, how long did it take Google to make money? The problem is how many of us really have that fortitude? How many of us can actually really go 20 years and actually stick to? Most of us don't have that type of tenacity to make that happen. And for most people, that's what you need to do. You need to try to get to that whatever that is for you, that first financial freedom point in time of your life as fast as possible. I have seen that if people will take massive action, if they'll be in the room, if they'll get rid of distractions, if they'll say no to anything and everything that keeps them away from their goals and dreams, if they're willing to live below their means. That's one thing I think a lot of real estate investors don't talk enough about. There's a period of time where we have to do this, where we have to shut off all of the subscriptions. When you see all of this through somebody that's gone through this over the last 5 years and they say, this is how I got there. Guess what, guys? This is how most people that get there. They don't get there by just, making more money. That's rarely ever the way it happens. So definitely want to give you kudos for that. Eric, if you want, yeah, okay. I'm glad that you posted that. So Eric's going to post in the group if you guys are interested in more of his products. And then your meetup group meets in Atlanta. Can you give some information about the meetup group?
Yeah, our meetup is in Atlanta. We meet in the south part of Atlanta in Noonan, Georgia at a local brewery called Line Creek Brewery. And tonight is actually our next meeting. We meet tonight at 6 p.m. And tonight I will be going through a lot of processes that we experienced on our last renovation and deploying all of the things that came into it of 1031ing, selling a home to a tenant, of going through the renovation fiascos we went through, how to weather the storm, things like that. It's an information and encouragement meeting tonight.
Awesome. If there's any more questions in the chat, we can go over questions. Also, like you talked about setting goals, kind of going over why you want to do this first, and then setting goals. Goals is a discipline, folks. If you're not setting up goals on a yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily basis, like how do you expect to actually achieve them? It is such a discipline that I think a lot of people that go from being an employee to being a business owner to kind of like taking control of their own life, that's one of the key parts of that. So I'm really glad that we had this time today to talk about that. But I'm telling you, most people don't know how to run a business. And this is all running a business is. This is how running your life is. It's just about setting the big goals, setting the medium goals, setting the yearly goals, setting the quarterly goals, and then just reviewing them and seeing how you did this last quarter and then setting them again. Like it's a discipline that needs to happen. It's what most people's meetings ought to look like on a weekly basis. Hey, what did we do last week? What were our to-dos last week to get done this week? What are our KPIs in our business? Are we hitting those? Or, how are we making that happen? I just spent my whole last week and a half with all of my different companies doing quarterly meetings and going, hey, how did we do last quarter? How are we going to do next quarter? We do our yearly planning before the end of the year because the end of the year is always, really busy. What are some things, starting to get some ideas for 2025 to put out there. So definitely appreciate you. Thank you for investing in our community today, Eric. Appreciate your time. Can you unshare real quick just so I can throw up my slide? So I just have the last slide for me. And I just want to remind everybody about next month again. So next month we are going to be with Forrest. I think you guys can see that, right? There we go. So this is next month. So next month, November 19th. I know we've got Lisa J, who's going to be speaking the third Tuesday of December about short-term and midterm rentals. And then I think we've got another speaker, Philip Soares, is going to be speaking about another fix and flip, but I think he's going to be more like flipping mastery and avoiding big mistakes and deal killers in the end of January. So hope you guys have a good day today. Like I said, thank you again, Eric, for investing in our community. It was a great call, and it's it's a needed thing in our community, and it's a good reset for all of us. So hope you guys have a good day. God bless. We'll see you next month.